In the past, we've covered a number of different first-person shooters, but none that try to cover tactical realism, rules of engagement, and slow, methodical gunplay quite like this. Today, we're jumping into the world of special weapons and tactics with 0 Hour.
Oh! No! Oh my goodness, this one.
We're the Bullet Sponges, and we are back with another Play or Pass, where we jump into some co-op and multiplayer games and give you our thoughts on whether they're worth playing or not really worth your time. And if you feel like joining myself and Nex for more co-op reviews and Let's Plays, feel free to subscribe and sit back each week as we review and play through all sorts of different titles. 0 Hour was released in August 2020, and if I'm being honest, back then it was pretty janky. The animations were strange, the AI was a bit goofy, and some of the audio effects sounded like the devs just recorded household objects in an echoey room and put them in as placeholders. However, to give credit where it's due, the game has improved in a lot of areas since then, and it's shifting into a real competitor in the tactical shooter market. As these tactical shooters go, 0 Hour really does encourage that slow, methodical gameplay. The same kind of gameplay that made the early Rainbow Six games so enjoyable. You begin each mission with loadout selection and planning, and once you've chosen your weapons and how you want to tackle the map, you're let loose to execute your objective. However, the real uniqueness you'll find in 0 Hour comes in the form of the rules of engagement, which basically means you can't go around headshotting every guy you see. You need to wait for signs of aggression before taking down your target or waiting for them to surrender. If you fire prematurely, you'll get penalised in the final score, and this could be the difference between unlocking the next mission or having to retry the one you're on. With all of the improvements that have gone into 0 Hour since its release, and the growing community of tactical shooter fans, we jumped in 2021 to let you know if it's a play or a pass.
Well, here's a game that Bias and I secretly hope will fix enough of its issues for us to recommend it without as many caveats. Oh, I shot you in the head perfectly. You don't understand how perfect. I'm going to have to show you that later. That was so unfortunate. For the second time round, we aim to review the game from the ground up, paying particular attention to the aspects we noticed were previously lacking. The environment has good detail, although up close a bit rough around the edges. But there are still huge issues with models clipping, enemies sliding across the floor, being propped up in space or walking backwards towards you. The UI is suitably minimalist with some nice touches like being able to check the remainder of your ammo. Audio feels like where the development team has had issues, although there is some really noticeable progress from our last review. Every reload sounded like it required removing some sort of Velcro. And for attempting to be as stealthy as possible, our footsteps were unforgivably loud. He's given up on the right here.
Okay.
But overall, the gun and even the ambient sounds were impactful and helped to make it more immersive. The movement is slow yet responsive, which is in line with the methodical aspect of clearing out objectives and minimising risks. At first it feels a bit sluggish, but it really suits the pace of the game and enhances the stealthy feel. You can tactically lean around corners, and your gun has to be held upright when obstructed by the environment. With this slower pace in mind, gunplay is quite satisfying. They've increased the number of weapons you can pick from, which now sits at 8 main options and a choice between 2 handguns. Each seems to come with laser attachments and some with silencers, without any additional customization options. One standout detail is when using night vision, your gun position while aiming changes, to utilise the IR pointer rather than the sight. The menu interfaces are mostly good. Everything pops up swiftly, however there are some questionable usability issues. After completing or failing a mission, you get the option to press continue, which always takes you to this screen, where you then have to press any button to start for some reason, before taking you back to the screen that you expected to be at in the first place. It's a bit of a disjointed experience that didn't make much sense to us, and you still get this disconnected from server not verified through Steam error that harasses your screen until you restart the game, with hitting that exit button in between these pop-ups requiring some Shroud level of mouse skill.
Nope.
The pre-game planning table is still a great feature in 0 Hour, one that on our second time round we actually started to use in a helpful way to come up with new strategies. The game is separated into co-op and PvP modes. The latter was entirely dead when we last played. This time we were able to have reliable matches with up to 6 other people. The mode itself feels a little bare bones. There's nothing particularly exciting about how PvP is played out, As far as we can tell, it's just the one map, a team to defend a bomb and the other to attack and defuse it. The co-op mode is where we start to really enjoy the experience. The game is clearly a hardcore shooter, your health isn't recoverable and it goes down real fast. The missions needed to be completed to a certain degree of success before unlocking the next one, each one having a mixture of objectives like rescuing Unknown 1 and Unknown 2. Yeah, they went pretty hard with the plot development, and bringing order to the chaos by dealing with all potential suspects. Now, in order to deal with these suspects, there's a clear attempt at more realism, as you aren't allowed to engage a target under certain conditions. In theory, if a suspect gives up or doesn't know you're there and you kill them, you get a penalty point with a regrettable ping sound, lowering your score at the end. A really awesome idea. However, sometimes this doesn't seem to register and you can get away with just killing them. And other times you're in a gunfight, hide around the corner, peel off some Velcro to reload, and get a penalty when you re-engage 2 seconds later. Oh, come on. This is made more difficult as the animations don't seem complete enough to gauge whether or not they're going to fire on you. They seemingly just instantly shoot at times. I'm just going to look left. Oh, he got me hard there. We did find the tactical elements interesting, keeping us optimistic that the game could become a really pioneering tactical shooter in the future. Rooms are laced with tripwires, some doors wedged shut, requiring you to spend time exposed to enemies while you open it. And power to the area can be shut off so you can go full Tom Clancy night vision mode. For being focused on co-op, there are still some elements so broken that it seriously impacts the experience. Spectating your teammate can be jittery, and often shows you a bunch of enemies that seemingly don't exist. That's a strange bug, I don't recall having this one last time. Now, despite what's been said so far, it's not all doom and gloom. Well, not from our perspective anyway, because once again we really had a lot of fun. We struggle to put our fingers on exactly why, but the clear-cut objectives, planning tools for perfect execution, really decent gunplay, and movement that just matches the intended pace of the game makes for something special at times.
0 Hour has come a long way since its release in 2020. The AI is better, the gunplay feels better, the audio is better, and there are more people playing the game, which means more reliable matchmaking. The fundamental core of the game is also pretty solid. You're encouraged to take your time, plan, and make your way through each mission methodically and cautiously, even checking under beds. You also need to think before taking down a target. It's not as simple as pointing and shooting at everyone you see. These different aspects of gameplay that the devs have woven together really creates an interesting tactical shooter, and it's one that's both enjoyable and pretty rewarding to play. With so many shooters on the market like Call of Duty where you just run and gun, it's nice that these games provide us with something where we have to slow down and think for a bit. For both of us, we're interested to see how the game develops in the coming months, because despite the interesting game mechanics and the enjoyable feel, it does still have some significant problems. Server connection is about as stable as Joffrey Baratheon. The audio and visuals really do need more work for a game that was developed in 2020. And the rules of engagement system seems inconsistent and a bit clunky. In addition, the choice of weapons and gear you have access to is quite limited compared to other tactical shooters on the market. But hopefully this is an area that will continue to expand in later updates. Overall, we gave 0 Hour a 3.5 out of 5. And if you're looking to jump into a tactical shooter to challenge yourself and you're not too bothered about having AAA polish or graphics, this might be worth jumping into. Let us know in the comments what you think of the game or whether or not you agree with our review. We're the Bullet Sponges and we will see you in the next one.